Hi guys, welcome to PSD to HTML for designers. In this lesson, we will write the markup or the HTML for the main banner area, which is this, with the form for collecting email addresses and the testimonial. Sorry, a bit of a brain freeze there. So we'll do this, and we'll also do the next section, which is this, the features and the white boxes. Okay, so let's begin with this. Going back to Coda. This is probably just my own personal style, but in order to keep my HTML files clean, I tend to leave about 5 empty rows between individual sections in my code. So right now it's time for another section, which is the main banner. Okay, so we'll start with the section tag, which is a new tag introduced in HTML5, and it makes your code more semantic if you use it. You can separate various blocks of information in your code or in your page. It's not really a good idea to use it for styling purposes. Use a div instead, but for markup, it's really good to use it. All right, so section, and we'll start with this div with a class of section main CTA. CTA stands for call to action. And I'm doing an extra div because I want to display this background which stretches from one end to the other. Okay, so we'll do that, and inside it we need our main content, which can be displayed in a div with a class of container. It's the same div, if you remember from the previous lesson, it's the same div we used for the header. So div class container. Let's expand that. Add some comments. All right. So inside the container, we have this: an h1, an h2, a form, and a block quote. So h1 plus h2 plus form plus block quote. All right, so h1, let's grab this text. h2 will do the same, just copy and paste. All right, so now we are at the form. So the form action, let's do this. Let's do method post, and let's give it a class of single field form. Or actually, let's name this form single field. I'm trying to keep my naming consistent. You should do the same because, for example, on the lists, I start my class names with list. On the icons, I start the class names with icon. So, you can do the same for forms. Start the class names with form. All right, so we'll do a paragraph. And then we'll do an input that has a type of email plus an input with a type of submit. All right, so let's try to keep the markup really simple and do all the customization from CSS, because here we basically have an input, a text input, and a button, right? We do have a surround, which we could do like a separate div, but it's really no need to complicate. We can just represent that with this markup and some really clever CSS. So input type email, we'll give it a name. We'll say form email. We'll give it an ID, form email, and let's do a placeholder like enter email. All right, let's see what else. Well, that's pretty much it. Type submit. It needs a value like start now, and also we'll give it a class of button. Now button is the class that we applied to this, which is this button on the top. And as you can see, they have basically the same style, you know, minus the uppercase and the icon. And we can easily target that inside the form. Okay, so input type submit, value start now, class button. All right, now you might notice I used placeholder. This will, let me just show you in the browser. If I refresh, oops. If I refresh, you can see that you have a small text which says enter email, and that disappears when you type something. All right, now that is a HTML5 attribute. In older browsers, it's not going to work. You can use a separate or an alternate method by using JavaScript to test if the email field has a value or doesn't have a value, and in case it has a value, then you hide the placeholder. If it doesn't, you show it. It's more complicated to explain. I could show you, but it's beyond the scope of this tutorial. So for now, we're just going to use the placeholder element. All right, so that is the form. Now the block quote, I'm just going to copy this real quick. All right, and for the author, we'll use the cite tag inside the block quote. Okay, and the author, let's just do John from Company Inc. All right, pretty good. So save. Now we have a block quote with the author. Okay, next up, I said we are doing the feature list. So let's go back here, leave some space. So we'll say, let's call this big features. Let's do it in uppercase. Okay, so we'll begin again with the section tag. And if we take a look, we can see that it also has a background. So let's do div with a class of section big features, which contains a div with a class of container. All right, expand that. The necessary comments. Okay, and then we have h1 plus h2. Okay, it's the title and subtitle, and finally a list plus the go top link. So let's do plus the list, and let's also give the list a class like list big features. Oops. plus the bottom link, we'll just say A, and let's give it a class of link go top. All right. So let's copy some of this text. All right. Now about the list big features. We could probably, we could style the whole thing, each list element to be floated to the left. But since we're using Twitter Bootstrap, why not use it on a list? So we'll do this list item, and we'll give it a class of span4. Okay, so that will automatically create 4 columns which represent a list item. All right, now inside each list item we have an icon, a title, and description. Okay, so for the icon and the title, we'll use the header tag, okay, which contains a span with a class of icon big. And let's do e-commerce. All right, and let's do an h3 for the title. This is a nice little feature title. And finally, the content, which we can put in a paragraph. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and copy this two more times to create 3 bigger columns. And I'm just going to change some of these class names. All right, something like that. Okay, and finally the link, will set the href to top. All right. And that's pretty much it. Let's have a look in Chrome. Okay, I don't have a text for for the link, so go top. All right, so now there's the link, and if we click it, it's going to take us to the very top of the page. Okay, that was it for this video, guys. In the next one, we'll take care of the next section, this dark background section, and also the testimonial section. Okay, thank you for watching so far. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.